Blog Talk Radio.
Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Wayward News Network. My name is Johnny Henderson. I'm your host, and I want to announce tonight that in the coming weeks, the show is probably going to undergo a bit of a name change, and hopefully we'll have our own theme music that is unique to the show. So I'll keep you informed on all that as plans progress and we get closer and closer to relaunching things. Tonight I have a very special guest with a very serious message for anybody who will listen. Off and on I've been talking about subliminals and mind control. Well, tonight I have a guest who I have looked forward to having on the show ever since I found his website. And I told my wife, I said, see if you can schedule this guy. I've got to get him on the show. So with no further ado, I would like to welcome Nathan Bell to the show tonight. Nathan, thank you for coming on.
Hi, Johnny. Thanks for having me on. I'm a homeschooling father of 5. In some of my free time, I've been making videos and full-length films about subliminal messaging. I run a small business. I'm a paleo-conservative, and I support Ron Paul for president. So let me go ahead.
All right.
All right. So we believe that most advertising is embedded with subliminal messages. This includes most product packaging, magazine ads, DVD and music CD covers, and many other forms of printed and non-printed media. This visual subliminal embedding takes many forms, such as faintly embedded words and images, optical illusions, words with double meanings, and dream symbolism. The most commonly embedded word is sex, and the most commonly embedded images are of skulls and devils. This is not a new idea. Several books have been published on the topic since the 1970s. What I do is I put this information together in videos that are from a Christian point of view and in the context of a world that is ruled by a power elite, often referred to as the New World Order. When I first accepted Jesus, God told me that most of what I knew was wrong, and He was the foundation of all knowledge. I prayed that God would help me to find the truth. I went to the library that day and I found a book called Subliminal Seduction by Dr. Wilson Bryan Key. Unfortunately, it was the paperback version of the book, and it didn't have the full-color poster that shows all the advertisements that he's talking about. I read the entire book, but it wasn't until weeks later when I was waiting for a friend looking at some CD covers that I saw my first subliminal message. It was the common embedded word sex, lightly written in the otherwise solid background. I'll give you a little background on myself. I'm a small business owner. My wife, Stephanie, and I have 5 children. The 2 school-age children are homeschooled. We're working towards self-sufficiency, raising ducks, goats, and chickens, and tending our expanding garden. We live in the beautiful mountains of southern West Virginia, but we're actually refugees from Maryland. We are Christians, but we feel our faith is being attacked on all sides, not only by Hollywood, Wall Street, and Madison Avenue, but also by Rome, who adapted pagan tradition into early Christianity, which we feel is just as damaging. Do you want me to talk about when these subliminals first started?
Yeah, whatever you've got that you can share with us. Man, we're just grateful for any knowledge you have that you can share with us.
Okay. Well, when most people think about subliminal messages, they think about the flashing buy popcorn and drink Coke before a movie, which was done in the late 50s. This was done by James Vickery. Subliminal messages existed decades before that happened. That was basically a publicity stunt gone wrong, is what I feel like. First of all, direct commands don't work. So if direct commands worked, everything would just say buy now or whatever it is that they wanted you to do. But the studies that I've seen show that direct commands do not work as a subliminal message. And that's the whole reason why we get into this sex and death stuff. Vickery invented something called a tactioscope. It was basically, flash these messages too fast to see. And subliminal messages were around since at least 1917 on a mass scale. They were used when the Woodrow Wilson administration formed the Committee on Public Information, otherwise known as the Creel Committee. This committee's task was to get the public behind entering World War I. This was a monumental task because a year before that, Wilson was elected on a peace platform of keeping the U.S. out. This committee brought together artists, journalists, and psychoanalysts to form the greatest propaganda effort the world had ever known to that point. Artists since the late 1800s had been studying Freud's theories and including dream symbolism in paintings and other works of art. The psychoanalysts brought to the table the concept that everything man does revolves around his main drive, the sex drive. Posters put out in support of the U.S. entering World War I included topless women, women in underwear, and many other manipulative images that have nothing to do with any rational reason to go to war. Two men that came out of the Creel Committee were Edward Bernays and Walter Lippmann. While most people have never heard their names, they've shaped the world we live in dramatic ways. So, subliminal messages came about by the collective mind of some artists, psychoanalysts such as Freud, and the Woodrow Wilson administration. I show many of their propaganda posters in my movie, The Great Subliminal Message Deception.
That's a great show.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I was just saying that is a great show. You sent me a copy, and, man, I loved it. I sat here and watched it all, and I watched an even longer version of it on your website.
Yeah. It's powerful information. When I made the one that I sent you, I only been making videos for 2 months, so it kind of starts out a little bit shaky, but I put all my effort into making these, as possible. To give you a rundown of what I find in the media, we do videos that show subliminal messages in a lot of popular media. We found the word sex, skulls, devil faces in movie advertising for Harry Potter, Twilight, several Disney films. We found subliminal messages on the ATF and FCC web pages. These are the two agencies they're the only ones with regulations about subliminal messages. Subliminal messages are not illegal, and there's only a few that are actually considered illegal, and that is ones that deal with alcohol, and that's the ATF. That's what they cover. We found homosexual subliminal messages on the cover of Rick Warren's Purpose-Driven Life, several subliminal messages on the cover of Benny Hinn books. I'm not exactly implying that these so-called Christian leaders know what's on their book covers, but if what I'm saying is true, realize that we're here. We are always finding subliminal messages in children's media, including Toy Story 3, Wonder Pets, Disney's Tangled, The Smurfs, Popeye, X-Men, and Garfield. There's a new Disney Pixar movie coming out next year called Brave. We've already found lots of subliminal messages on the movie poster. The movie, which is directed towards young girls, has underlying themes of human sacrifice in the advertising, and we also found hidden the word sex, witches, alligators, sharks, and other horror-related imagery. Here's an overview of my work. I started making videos 2 years ago. I've made 2 full-length documentaries. The first one, Truth and Reality, is an overview of subliminal messaging and a social commentary exploring the possible cultural effects of using subliminal messages on the population. The latest DVD, The Great Subliminal Message Deception, is the most detailed documentary on the topic of subliminal messages that exists. I show hundreds of examples of subliminal messages, around 300 examples. I've put together the history of subliminal messages. That, as far as I know, that's not been done before. I also show the leaked ad training document, which I'll get into in just a moment. Let's see. So you did have a chance to see the document, correct?
Oh, yes, I did. It's very, very eye-opening, to say the least.
It's definitely frightening. I found it, even when I already put stuff, it was very frightening to read this and see that these people are really psychopaths on Madison Avenue.
Some of the things that they came up with, you know, it had to be inspired by a satanic mind. Just even like the Kent cigarettes ad, where they're talking about the Hell Cell campaign. I mean, I would have never thought to do some of the things, because I know in the image that I'm talking about, where it had the man and the woman standing on the hillside and the sun setting, and how they subtly drew a line across the sun to make it look like it was setting into a puddle of water and was being extinguished. And they say that traumatizes you on a subconscious level. And who would think to do something like that?
You have to be a psychopath, I think, and just totally. I mean, it could be that they're just totally given over to greed. I mean, if you were this greedy, you might think that just inherently it's satanic, because I couldn't imagine being that greedy that you would want to do this to not just adults, but children see these ads, and it's horrible. All right. So in the Great Subliminal Message Deception, I show the ad training manual. It's from an advertising school. This manual includes illustrations that I show, and it goes into quite a bit of detail. The document shows that the situation is far worse than I can even put into my own words. My mind's simply not evil enough to think like these people think. The ads in the document are from 10 cigarettes and Hiram Walker whiskey. These ads that appeared they appeared in national magazines such as Sports Illustrated and Time Magazine. The document goes on to explain what they called the Hell Cell technique, which makes products like cigarettes seem like they have magical qualities almost, and they can provide salvation from hell and Satan and death, too. They also explain some of the psychology behind their tactics and even show how they use sexual fantasies in advertising. And so real ads. I even managed to buy the Hiram Walker whiskey imp ad from eBay, and I can confirm that the subliminal messages shown in the ad training document are actually in the ad.
So you have every reason to believe that it's authentic.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, I didn't publish the document. It was published by in a book called Mind Programming. So it's about it in Programming the Nation. And I found out about it, and I could not this go. I mean, I had to tell people, and I don't care at what cost it would be at, I needed to get this information out there the best way I could. So,
I don't blame you. I tend to get myself in trouble, telling people things that they don't want to hear. And I don't mean to interrupt you here, but we've got a question that was just typed into the chat room. Individual wants to know if you believe that all advertising contains subliminals.
Couldn't say all of it does, because there's small advertisers that don't know about the advertising tactic. And, like, if you're looking through your yellow pages, you're going to probably not see too many people use messages. Now, it would be very difficult for me to say, like, what percentage. I would say that, well, Wilson Bryan Key says in his books that basically all major advertising firms have an embedding technician, and so anything done through the major advertising firms would definitely have subliminal messages.
Agreed. Had one more question. The individual wants to know what you would say to those individuals who think that some of the things that you're finding is like finding images in clouds.
Well, that is why I made the video, I Could Find That in a Cloud, Debunked. I would really, you would really have to watch the video to get the full answer, because it's a complex question. Now, subliminal messages, there is subjectivity as you're looking for these things. What we do is that my wife actually goes over everything. Before I tell her what I think is in an ad, I have her look at it. And really what I use is things that we both have found, not just me. So I can't trust my eyes 100%, and I don't think anyone really can, but I know lots and lots of people, when I post these videos, that other people are seeing what I'm seeing. And also, there's actually lots of reasons why that argument can be proven wrong. If you look at ads before the 1940s, you can't find anything. So you would think that, well, they would be there too, right? Or if you look at, say, other people say, well, I could see the same thing in a natural background such as wood, but I've never seen anything like that in any natural surface. And you have to understand, advertisement is made for the sole purpose of making money. This is nothing like a cloud. God is in charge of that type of stuff. This is something that was created by man for the purpose of making money.
I agree, and I've never seen the word sex or skulls embedded in wood that wasn't, wood burned or something like that. I've got to the point now where I can go to almost any poster, like theater poster, and within 3 or 4 minutes I can find hidden, and it's not every poster, but just about any of them, and find the word sex hidden there. Sometimes they're very stylized.
Yeah, and
but the easiest way for me is to find the X and then work backward.
Yeah, the E is usually the hardest one to find. I usually find the S or the X. This is done on if you look, it doesn't have to be in a cloud or in a mountain or, in something like that. They do this just right in the solid background. You can find the word lightly shaded in, the word sex. And other words, too, they use the F word. And I've seen some other things, but it's almost always sex.
The lightly faded in ones are the ones I have the most trouble with because my eyes won't seem to focus in on like it needs to. You're probably familiar with the Glamour magazine issue that has Mariah Carey on it. Do you know the issue I'm talking about?
I think I have seen that image, but I don't remember the subliminal.
There's several places that you can see the word sex, but it has the words obey embedded also. but there are other things that I've seen people say is written there, and I really can't make those out because my eyes won't focus right. But I'm prepared to believe they are there because other people that I've shown, asked them to look at, they've seen it. So it really, honestly, is there. Anybody can get online and buy the, I think it's 2007 November edition of Glamour magazine with Mariah Carey, and there literally are subliminals there that can be easily seen. Anybody can buy it and look for themselves. Now, having said that, I'm not going to say that every magazine of Glamour has images in it. I have well, let me ask you another question. I'm sorry, I've got interrupted here. I have an individual here who wants to know, is there a percentage of the population that is not affected by subliminal messages?
I think there is a percentage. What that percentage is, I don't. In the document, they say that there's 95% pickup of these subliminal messages, but then other studies, other sources, say that it really only affects maybe like 10 or 20%, like to actually make them like that image more or want to buy that image more. We really need to do more stuff. We need to get a hold of the private studies that are done by these advertising firms and find out what information they know, because they're the ones that have done the most studying on this by far. And like over 500 studies that were public on subliminal, different aspects of subliminal perception. And most of these say that it does affect people. There are some that sometimes when you flash the image, it doesn't show to affect people. And that's why I'm a little bit leery of the flashing ones. I think that they'll use any tool they have if they think it's going to work, and maybe they don't even know if it's going to work. They will still do it just for, a little bit more profit. I personally think that subliminal messages are a modern manifestation of the occult. As you know, the word occult means hidden or secret and usually refers to knowledge. Then factor in that most of these subliminal messages involve sex and death. We have to wonder, is there more to this than just making money? When you think about it, if Satan himself was hiding messages in media, it would probably be something like sex, skulls, and devils. That seems like a likely choice. I doubt the typical ad man is Satanist. I think that their humanist worldview that they've fully accepted is based on Sigmund Freud's theories. Freud said the driving motivator of mankind was libido. And his other driving force was what he called sometimes the death drive, which he claimed we all have a secret desire to die. I know it's hard for people to think that drive is in them, but that's what Freud said.
And there seems to be some science behind that. I mean, well, especially for a lot of drunks, a lot of people who drink a lot, all seem to have a death wish, and I think that's why a lot of your whiskeys use the skulls and the death images. Now, granted, I believe some of the sex images could possibly be coincidence. I mean, not everything is a subliminal. Sometimes I guess it could just be some things that look like it, but the majority of the time, I believe that it is exactly what you see it. Would you agree or disagree?
Yeah, I mean, there's always coincidence can be out there, but not this master of coincidence that every time we look at an ad, we're able to find something, very wrong with it. If I was, I guess I should play the lottery, or maybe someone can ask me for lottery numbers. But no, I don't think it's coincidence most of the time, and I think this stuff is definitely in there. Well, here's an interesting one. Have you ever seen the Monster Energy drink logo?
Yes, I have. Now, I've heard, or actually, it's the 3 limes, right?
Yeah, it's like 3 scratches that form the letter M. And the strange thing is
I've heard that those are the Hebrew characters for 6.
Yes. So that it would read 666. And I've looked at the Hebrew character. It definitely looks like it. And the word monster is a synonym for the word beast. And what's their slogan? Unleash the beast. In some of their promotional material, they use the satanic hand sign. Monster Energy has another drink called Chaos, and the Antichrist is known as the Lawless One, which of course results in chaos. When an actual beast, such as a bear, leaves a mark on a tree, it's often scratches that look like the monster logo. So for me right there, that's actually too much coincidence for me right there. And I think that they're using this, whether they're trying to draw satanic power and like use this to gain power, or whether they are just playing to fears that people have, or maybe like a quest for power, supernatural power. I can't really guess what they're thinking when they do these things.
Well, have you ever stopped to think that the Bible warns us, it says, gird up the loins of your mind? So everything we see, everything we hear, even whether we realize that we've seen it or heard it, the brain processes it, and it's stored somewhere in your mind.
Right. Yes, I definitely agree with that. That's actually, they have a machine that can show, like, exactly the point that your eye focuses on, like when you're looking at an ad, and they actually use this machine to track what your eye is exactly looking at. It's called it's like a dense group of cells called the flavea, but they plant the subliminal message like just outside of that, so you're not focusing on it, but you're focusing near it, and your brain is taking in the whole image, not just the points that you're consciously focusing on.
That's true. Now, I'm not sure if it was your video or another one that I watched, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like that I read or heard somewhere that when the brain sees one of these horror images or the death images, that it affects the brain in such a way that it bypasses the cerebral cortex where you do your reasoning and opens up the limbic region of the brain, which focuses on impulse. Right.
Yeah, that's definitely the biological way to look at it, and yeah, that's exactly what they're trying to do is bypass your logical part of your mind that says, there's no way this can fulfill this desire, and then once they get it to the subconscious level, there's something called the id in. Like, this is a term, I guess Freud came up with it, but the id is like what a Christian would call the flesh, like the animal instinct.
The id wants what the id wants.
Yeah, that's really what they're trying to reach, and they're trying to get that to think. I'm not a scientist myself here, so what they want to do is have the id think it's going to fulfill its desire by buying the product. So that it cares about sex and, I guess, supposedly death. And that's really how this works. Freud, he not only popularized the idea that man has an unconscious, but he also thought the unconscious made our decisions for us. So he believes that man does not have free will. I believe that we do. But he thinks that we are just driven by these animal forces, basically. And that's what these advertisers, I think that's what they believe also. And that's what they're trying to do.
Now, we have another question. Do you think that this is all possibly part of a Masonic agenda of any kind?
There are a lot of Masonic symbols that we find. We often find the all-seeing eye and the pyramid's capstone. You'll see sometimes the number 33 is used, but that's not too frequent. And you can get into this thing where you want to pin it down to one group, like the Masons or the Illuminati, or the British Empire, or the Jews, or
the
any
Vatican,
of these groups. I don't really like to do that. I think that the way evil works is it will just feed off of the people that are doing this evil, and will just gain this power. It doesn't have to be one group, although they don't exist and they don't exert power. I think they do exist. But as far as it being a Masonic plot, like not just
I think a lot of times people just use Illuminati as a generalization of the hidden elites rather than think it's just one group. I know there's probably many different groups that are doing things, but I think a lot of times people will just say Illuminati to just kind of put a face to the organization.
Right. Well, this is definitely, it's the power elite that are the ones that know that have this knowledge, and they use it, to control us. They put us in debt through this. Look at our culture. We're just completely materialistic. We define ourselves by the products we buy, and that's who we are. We define ourselves by these products, and it's because of these messages. We're completely shallow, and we're going down now. Our economy is going down. You just cannot sustain. People spend 4% more each year. They have to spend 4% more when all our manufacturing jobs are gone, and you got the service sector is 90% of employment or something. People are not going to be able to spend more, and I think we have to have this economic collapse. It's going to be bad, but people, we're gone. I mean, we're going to be judged by God for what we've done.
I agree. Now, let me ask you this about the word sex. What kind of a response do you think they're trying to garner from the viewer when they hide that image there? And personally, I think this is probably to a great degree, the reason we see the morals of this country declining. It seems like anything goes. People are obsessed with sex. Now, do you think we're being programmed to just be animalistic?
Yes, because if you can control people and make them impulsive and controlled by impulses and animal desires, all this type of immorality, these are the people that you're going to be selling the products to. Ernest Dichter, who was he was the feature of The Hidden Persuaders by Vance Packard. It was a book from 1957 that exposed all of a bunch of these subliminal techniques. Dichter was always railing against the Puritans. He hated the Puritans, as he called them, and they were the people like my family that we try and do everything for ourselves. We don't want to buy your cake mix and crack an egg into it. We want to make the cake from scratch. We want to know, how to make things on our own. And so
that sounds like us at this house. We don't buy cake mix because we don't trust what's in it. We want to know what we're eating. We want to know what we're drinking.
But yeah,
I personally don't like
avoid all that corn syrup.
Yeah, and I've said time and time again on this show that high fructose corn syrup actually, and I have documents on it, has been proven if it's in the first two ingredients of the product that it contains mercury. Now, mercury is not naturally occurring in corn.
Yeah, I've read that too, and I believe they say that that mercury's in over 50% of products that have high fructose corn syrup. I believe
maybe
I read
even higher than that.
Yeah. Well, we try
So
to avoid all those
somebody literally has to be adding it to the corn syrup.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like the bisphenol A that we're exposed to, the fluoride and the chlorine.
Right. I mean, it's so complicated to try and even withdraw yourself from this. You're canning stuff, and guess what? The canning lids have the the bisphenol A, and
so they're getting you anyway, huh?
Yeah, and they're definitely poisoning us in this way. Now, whether it's like the soft kill intentionally, we're killing you, or whether it's just, well, we want to make a profit, and if it kills you, oh well. I'm always torn between which it is, whether they're intentionally.
I think it's somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, I think so too. It's probably a combination of this.
If we can kill these guys off and make a profit, yay for us.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's clear. Look at this cigarette advertising. I don't like to pick on the tobacco and alcohol people because it is everybody that does this. It's not just them. But you can see, like with cigarettes, you're selling a product that you pretty much know is going to kill people, and that's what they take for every product. It's not just that. So, let me ask you: have you ever heard of Edward Bernays?
I haven't heard of him. I don't believe.
He was the nephew of Sigmund Freud. What Edward Bernays did was he took Freud's theories on human behavior and our subconscious, and he was the one that applied them to advertising. He was in this Creel committee in World War I that made the propaganda posters where they started using subliminal messages in those. And he was also did some propaganda for World War II. But he went into the private sector after the World War II was over and the boom was starting. Basically, what fueled the boom is him taking Freud's theories, and they totally changed advertising. Before then, advertising was mostly about telling the qualities of the product, and this is the man that took that of advertising being shown the product, and he turned it into just this, appealing to all these unconscious forces. It's very interesting. Have you? It's a great documentary from on the BBC. It's called Century of Self. It's 4 hours long. You can actually watch it on YouTube. The first episode is about Freud, and he's talking about like advertising and war and all of this that we're talking about. The first episode is about Freud. The second episode is about Edward Bernays. And the third episode is about Ernest Dichter, who was very influential. It's something, it'll teach you a lot about the psychoanalysis that is behind this type of advertising. I'm not some psychoanalyst. I'm just a person who wants to get the message out there. So, I have to refer people to some of these great things that are out there.
I understand. I had another question. They were asking if there's one product line that is maybe more culpable in the subliminal messages than another.
Well, usually it's the products that you absolutely do not need, like we're already saying, like tobacco and alcohol. And the products that are, like, there's very little difference between brands, like maybe like motor oil or, any soft drinks, potato chips. It's anything that the product doesn't have much quality of its own and there's a lot of competition. These are the ones where you're going to see the most outrageous. The cigarette advertising from the 60s and 70s is completely ridiculous. You can pick up any Newport ad, and you're going you just study it, and you're going to see something is wrong with this picture. There's something that's going to be wrong with it, for sure.
Are they the ones that had the couple and the guy had a cigarette and it was placed where it looked like it was burning Miss America's eye?
No, that was actually, that's still Kent. Yeah, that's Kent. But I have heard of a Newport ad that there's these falling leaves, and they had them very blurry, and it's like no legitimate photographer would have these blurred leaves falling on this guy's head. And I've just read about this. I haven't actually seen the ad, but supposedly it looks like his whole head's on fire. So Newport is owned by Lorillard, which is they also own Kent. And I called Lorillard to ask them what advertising agency did these ads, and they basically said they didn't know after they hung up on me once. So, but you can actually find that phone call in The Great Subliminal Message Deception, my latest movie. I recorded it and put it in there.
Now, I find a whole lot of like death and sex imagery and video game advertisements.
Oh,
like
yeah.
you look through some of the magazines, like there's one, Splinter Cell 2. I was looking at it, and the guy's pants wrinkle at the bottom, and there's a perfect EX that sticks out. And then there's a zipper goes up alongside of the boot that makes an S. And then another one called Just Cause 2. The guy's jumping out of a helicopter, and I'm looking at his pant leg. Something just don't look right about his knee. And as I look real close, there's a skull airbrushed onto his knee.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of if you go to like a GameStop and you're looking at the video game boxes, you could just find them one after another. Especially like the war and military ones like Call of Duty. They're just like lined with skulls sometimes in the background. They're just everywhere. And of course it's about killing. I mean, there shouldn't be a big surprise there. And think about the psychological effects of playing these games for hours on end. I mean, you're going to be ready to go to war and kill people and not care about it. And the question that has to be asked is, what is the cumulative effect on society of taking in all of these subliminal messages all day? I mean, you have to realize that we're going downhill fast, I think.
I tell you what, a lot of times when I'm like, I'll sit for 8 hours and I'll be putting together things for seminars that I do on subliminals, and over I'll see the sex, or I'll see the different images in it, or I'll be working on some of the Project Monarch stuff, the sex slaves and the abuse, and I literally almost feel sick to my stomach by the end of the day from so much, I don't know if it's sensory overload or what, or if it's just from seeing the sick, twisted images all day. They really affect me, and I'll have to come home, and sometimes I'll have to pray just to get the images out of my head and stuff because they really stick. And, somebody needs to find this stuff and point it out to people, but sometimes it's kind of hard when you do it.
Yeah.
Do you find that you have any issues like that?
Yes, definitely. After I started doing the videos, I actually had trouble sleeping, and it really felt like something was trying to get at me. And this can't be good for anybody. I mean, I don't even like to look at it myself unless I'm actually getting ready to make a video, unless we're looking for examples. I just don't like to look at the advertising at all. It can't, even if you know about it. Wilson Bryan Key in his book says that if you know about it, the effect is gone, but I don't know that for sure. So I really don't like to look at it.
Well, it goes back to the brain itself because, like I said, the brain sees, records, and processes everything. So it's still in your head.
Yeah, and they don't care like what's going into our heads at all. They just want to make a profit. But if it was only about selling products, that's one thing. But this has political, social, and religious implications. We found many subliminal messages on Jehovah's Witnesses literature. Other people have found these. You can look that up on Google in an instant. You know, Jehovah's Witness subliminal messages. There's an entire documentary on subliminal messages in Catholic art. It's called Rape of the Soul. It's 3 hours long, and I recommend it highly. It has.
Is it on YouTube?
No. Unfortunately, you would probably have to buy it. I that's the only way to get it. I did go ahead and buy it. There are some clips on YouTube that do show what they're talking about, but it's worth buying because the movie it's got a lot of good information, and they have an interview with Wilson Bryan Key, who was the person who originally discovered. They also interview Stanley Monteith. Do you know who he is?
I've heard the name.
Stanley Monteith, he has a book, Brotherhood of Darkness, and talks about fluoride and that type of thing.
Brotherhood of Darkness. I may have that book. That sounds very familiar. Of course, I've got thousands of books of every variety, so I need to go in there and look for it.
Yeah, he's a Christian prophecy teacher, and he talks a lot about the Illuminati and that type of thing. But he also talks a lot about subliminal messages, and the stuff in this Catholic art, the movie is done by a Catholic, so it's not inherently anti-Catholic, but, you know, they're showing things that Catholics, I don't know if you're Catholic or Protestant. I shouldn't say anything, I suppose, but, you know, some Catholics
you can say it here. I'm Protestant.
Okay. Well,
that don't
a
mean
lot of
that I
Catholics
dislike
are offended
Catholics.
by it.
If it was Protestant, I'd still want to know because, you know, I'm into truth.
Right. Well, then of course, we have the evangelical figures. You can go to a Christian book cover, and you can take a look, and maybe they won't be embedded, but some of them are. Like I said, specifically Benny Hinn and Rick
book,
Warren.
Purpose Driven from Life.
Yeah.
It's very clear. A naked man on the cover of his book, and the word sex is embedded right there. And there's something wrong when you have religious books that have things of that nature.
Yeah, it's not good at all. But then once again, is it just that they want to make money, or is it like a lot of these things in classic art? Because the Rape of the Soul goes back to art done in the 1700s. And even before that, and what would happen is the Vatican would commission an artist to do a painting, such as like Da Vinci or whatever, and they slip in an attack on the church, supposedly, and the reason they're showing a homosexual act, let's say, in this piece of classic Catholic art would be because they're just doing that to get at the Catholic Church. So you can look at this stuff many different ways. I mean, it is there.
You could have a bunch of
thing.
atheists trying to corrupt a Christian publication.
And that could be what's happening. I mean, you can't necessarily blame Rick Warren. I guess you would have to, you know, look at his message. I mean, that's how you really judge people, not by the cover of their book. But
known by the fruit.
Yeah, so we do need to get to the bottom of this, though, and we need answers. You know, in 1984, there was congressional hearings on subliminal messaging.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Now, let me ask you this, since we're talking about congressional hearings. Do you think that there are subliminals in the political realm? I can think of a couple of very interesting instances. But do you think if there are political subliminals that they add to these divides in the country that are getting more and more prominent every day?
Well, I feel like they definitely want us divided right down the middle. But yeah, there's a lot of instances of subliminal messages in political advertising. The most famous one that everybody knows is the rats in the Al Gore, the Bush ad against Al Gore. It says rats real fast. That was probably
Democrats.
Yeah.
And there's another one that had Obama there, and it had the word change, but they cut off the part of the word so that it just said hang and had the president there in the image. Have you seen that one?
Yes, I saw that too. Yeah, I mean that they go over these ads so with so much detail. These are professionals. It's not made by kindergartners. They definitely put that stuff in there. It's not a mistake. I guess there is a slim chance of mistake, but there's too many of these. I did during the 2010 elections. I did a video on some subliminal messages I found in Harry Reid, his advertising, in Martin O'Malley, who is the governor of Maryland, and also Meg Whitman, who is running in California. I wanted to include some Republicans, so it seemed like I'm not just focusing on the Democrats. Because I don't believe in the two-party system. I think that we've got to stop thinking.
I consider myself a constitutionalist.
Yes, me too. I really hope that Ron Paul will, if he doesn't get the Republican nomination, I really hope he'll run as a libertarian. And if for nothing else, then to get his message out there and change the debate completely. I mean, it would be completely changed by him being in debates when we come around to the general election.
Well, now, isn't he the one that called Rick Perry on the Gardasil issue?
Yes. Yeah.
And I already mentioned to you earlier that I do believe that there are political subliminals, because before the president started running for office, I think we talked about this off of the radio show, I found in a video game that came out in 2006 before he was running for president, a video game that had a newsstand in the background, and on the magazines in the background, there was Obama. And I wonder, how many times has that come into play? How many times have we been manipulated and seen images of a certain politician, didn't even realize we'd seen them, but for some reason we felt ourselves drawn to that individual? And I'm not saying just Obama. I'd say that a lot of these other politicians do the same thing.
That is probably true. If you take 9/11, not to really change the subject, but if you take 9/11, in The Simpsons, did you see that image? I think they held up a magazine or something, and it's showing. I forget exactly what it was showing, but it was alluding to 9/11 hasn't occurred yet, and is strange. And then there was also some spin-off of the X-Files that basically
the lone gunman.
The pilot of the show was like basically the whole 9/11 plot, and I mean, what isn't that's called like predictive programming, I believe.
Yes, and there's another one. There's another couple. If you don't mind us just going down a rabbit hole for a minute here, there's a movie called The Shaft. It's a horror movie. It's about a haunted elevator. Of all things in the world, if you need something stupid to watch, then you could watch this movie. It had Naomi Watts in it before she was very popular, and this elevator was possessed with military technology or something, or a ghost. I don't even know what it was. It was on late at one night, and I was flipping channels, and I stopped this thing. And this elevator rams itself through the roof and then destroys a big part of this building. Well, it clicks to a scene, and the president on the movie is giving almost word for word the exact same speech that George Bush gave when he found out about 9/11. And I'm like, wow, that's a weird coincidence. So I start watching the movie. And the Army starts moving into this building, and they're bringing in these Stinger missiles. and this is early, like March of 2001 that the movie was released. March of 2001, the Army's bringing in these Stinger missiles, and one of the soldiers says to the other one, he says, "Stinger missiles?" And then the other soldier replies back and says, "Well, terrorists have airplanes too." They load these missiles in a different elevator. They're going up to the roof, and one of them says, "If you see Bin Laden up there, tell him I said hi."
Huh. When was that from?
That is from 2001, but it was in March of the year. The movie was released and filmed. It was filmed in, like, probably 2000.
Yeah,
so
and then there was...
way before.
Yeah, I thought I saw another, it was like an Arab postcard, or no, I think it was a calendar, and it was showing a plane flying into the towers, and that was also before 9/11.
It's amazing how much predictive programming there is. There was even a scene in the movie Knowing, where he's watching a news report. He looks at this paper that's got all these numbers on it, and he's like figuring out these events that's going to happen that was written 50 years ago in number form. Nicolas Cage is looking down at it. He looks at the paper, and it shows the number 666. And then he looks at the TV. The TV is doing a news article about an oil platform burning in the Gulf. And it is almost identical in every way to the Deepwater Horizon oil spill. It's just absolutely amazing, but it come out a full year before the event ever happened.
Yeah.
And then you should look at the book called The Final Jihad.
About 9/11, do you have any idea why that has so much impact? Seeing these towers fall, I call it an archetype level event. It's something that is like all they're symbolically built into us, and my theory is that it's a symbolic castration. I know that's a bit graphic, but that's what taking these towers out was supposed to do to the public. They watch it on TV, and it's a symbolic castration. And like if you go into Freud's theories, this is like castration is one of the things that has the most effect on males.
A very terrifying thought, but it actually goes a little deeper than that. I agree with you on that, but it goes deeper than that too, because I've told you that I've been studying into mind control and the making of the splitting of people's minds and making monarch slaves and Manchurian candidates. All brainwashing, the majority of it is done with a trauma-based program. And I believe that America as a whole was traumatized on a national basis, and to some extent we were brainwashed because immediately we were willing to give up all of our freedoms and just do anything that the government asked of us.
Yes, it's true. It even affected me some ways. So, where it's hard to always be on your guard with these. They've studied human beings. They know exactly how to affect us, and I'm sure that we're going to be seeing more of this. Do you think with the Project Bluebeam that they could be possibly they may use that to give the statue life like a revelation?
Oh, absolutely. I believe that. I believe that they could use it to some degree localize a counterfeit return of Christ. They could do a nuclear war, or as Al Gore and his cronies have been touting lately that we're going to get attacked by aliens if we don't stop global warming. I think that it could do a world of things. I believe they'll probably use HARP technology to do it. We had one last question from the chat room. Individual wants to know if you think 9/11 was allowed to happen. I'll answer what I think first, if you don't mind. I believe 9/11 was a self-inflicted wound. They used people of the Arab community to carry it out, but I believe that, it was probably orchestrated by rogue elements within our own government.
I think that is one possibility, and another possibility is that it could have been Israeli intelligence. There was the two guys that were jumping up and down after it happened. They were Israeli students filming it, I believe, and that led to a bunch of spies getting arrested who were over here on student visas. So I don't know enough what really goes on to say whether. I can tell you one thing: it wasn't the way they told the story, the way it's told on the news.
Yeah, I don't believe it was like it was on the news. The guy in the chat room said, "Tell Johnny to shut up and let that guy answer." Oh, my goodness. But I believe that there's a lot in this world that goes on behind the scenes that you and I will never be privy to, my friend.
Yes, that's definitely the truth. I find out it's worse almost on a daily basis, I have to say. I think things are bad, and then I find out it's worse. So.
Oh, yeah, when I think it's as bad as it can ever possibly get, I'll find something way more twisted than I'd ever thought of.
Right.
But I do believe you're right about Project Bluebeam. I believe it can be used to do a great deal. It says in Revelation he'll call fire down from heaven. It can easily do that.
Yeah, and you can use the subliminal advertising to market the mark of the beast. You can have everyone want to take an iPhone.
Well, there's already showing up 666s everywhere in a lot of things.
Yeah, and you have barcodes that can say 666. A lot of barcodes say 666. And then you have the implantable chips that are this, and no matter what, there's no stopping it.
No, sir, there isn't. The only thing we can really do is trust in Jesus Christ and educate ourselves the best we can.
Yep. If anybody's, are we still in the air?
Well, we're in archives right now, but people are still able to go back and listen.
Sure. So, can I give out the names of my movies and how to watch them again?
I'd be hurt if you didn't give that information out.
Okay. So, if you're interested in what we're talking about, please go and watch my full-length documentaries on YouTube. You can Google the term The Great Subliminal Message Deception, and second link is the full documentary on YouTube. Or you can go to YouTube and go to my channel, which is my username is Realityintruth. Or you can just search my two documentary titles, The Great Subliminal Message Deception or Truth in Reality. One simple way you can help me out is just take the videos and give them a thumbs up. The more people that do this, the more the videos will be visible. And I encourage people to talk about this topic and research it. There's some disinfo from the ad industry out there, but by far you'll find people sharing subliminal messages they have found.
Now, are you on Facebook, Nathan?
Well, I mainly just use that for family, but the main way to talk to me and message me about the subliminal messages is through my YouTube channel. I try and answer a lot of the questions. I answer all the personal messages that are sent to me, but I do get a lot of messages, so I can't guarantee it.
Have you ever considered doing like a groups page for Reality and Truth, so that way it would be another avenue people could find you on Facebook and join that group and put a link on it to your website?
Yeah, I have been thinking about that, but I have all of these small children that we're homeschooling, and I have a 3-month-old and a 1 year and 3-month-old. So I do hope to do that.
You're a busy man.
Yeah, I am, and I run a business, and but I do still have time to work on the videos. I just, I do it when we're not gardening, and in my spare time.
Well, now, do you sell your produce, or do you just use it for your own consumption?
We use it for just our own consumption. We moved into our current house just 2 years ago, so each year we're in our garden, and hopefully we would be able to sell some eventually at farmers markets and that type of thing, but it'll be a little while before we can do that.
Well, hopefully it'll come to pass and you'll be able to do it. Well, I just want to encourage you to keep homeschooling, too. Sounds like you're on the right track all the way around, my friend.
Yeah, it's important, and it's not as difficult as most people think. Since I work at home, it makes it very easy because we have 2 people and we're both at home, so it's not too bad yet. Once we have all 5 of them doing the homeschool, then it might get complex.
I'm sure you can handle it. Well, brother, I appreciate you being on the show tonight, and I know you've got a family to get back to. And, man, I would like to talk with you more off air sometime. You have my wife's number, I think. So I would like you to stay in touch. I'd like to send you a few things later on that you might like to be able to use for your own research, a few things I found, if you'd be interested in seeing some of the ones.
Sure, yeah. And, I have lots of other info that I didn't really get to, but,
Would you ever like to do the show again?
Yeah, I could do that, sure.
Okay, we'll give you a little break, but we'll schedule you somewhere down the road and get you back on, man, because you are very, very informed.
All right, well, it was great talking to you.
All right, my friend, you have a good rest of the night, and thank you again.
All right, God bless.
God bless you. Well, that's going to end another edition of Wayward News Network. A very informative show tonight. I wish that young man well. He seems to be trying to do very good for his family. And, folks, in this world we live in, that's about all we can try to do is try to be the best people that we can be. Try to not think so much about ourselves and just how to get more for me. We need to be trying to figure out how to do more for our friends, for our family, for our neighbors, for the man on the street. This country used to be great because America cared. We cared about each other, and we don't do that anymore. We need to get back to the basics. So I'm going to cut it short, and I'm just going to say, until next time, America and the world, take care of yourselves and each other. Have a good night.